Hello, 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 everyone. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Thank you so much for joining me for this Monday's Ask the ICMWorld Community live stream, where each time we dive into a new topic with an awesome guest from our ICMWorld community. This live stream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content marketing. You can learn more about us over at contentmarketinginstitute.com, where we have all kinds of great resources, education, webinars, ebooks, research, and our latest and daily news articles all over there. All right, today's topic and guest is a speaker from our upcoming ContentTECH Summit. It'll be coming up here at just a couple of weeks, end of May 31st through June 2nd to be exact, in a very sunny San Diego. And when we're done here, hopefully you'll stick around before you go over there, but head over to content.tech when we're done, and you can get a virtual or an in-person ticket. You can see the whole agenda over there. And if you stick around to the end of this live stream, I'll have a little discount code for you to save on your registration. All right, as you join me today, as always, please give me a virtual wave, say hello, let me know where you're joining us from. You know I love to see where you are, where you guys all are at today. And it makes for a really more engaging live stream when we hear from you. So please drop your questions. If you have comments, leave it in the comment section and we will try to get to it. All right, today's topic. These days, we all know the importance of creating a great experience, right? Experience is like a huge buzzword for our customers and our audience. But sometimes, no matter how hard we try, we may have an unpleasant or maybe a negative experience with the brand. But that doesn't have to mean you lose the business forever. There's a chance to turn things around. And today we're going to discuss some of the best practices to save a sinking customer experience so you can end on a positive note. All right, today's guest, Randy Frisch, is the CMO and co-founder of UberFlip, a content experience platform that empowers marketers to create content experiences for every stage of the buyer's journey. Randy is also the host of the Marketer's Journey podcast, was named one of the top 50 fearless marketers in the world by Marketo, and is also a best-selling author. Hello, Randy. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Amanda. I am so pumped to be here. I might be muted, though.
No, I think you're on now.
I'm on. All right. The screen says I'm muted, but that's great.
I can hear you. Hopefully everyone else
says I'm
can hear
unmuted.
you.
So I'm in. I'm here.
All right. I can hear you. So you'll have me as an audience today.
Awesome. Great to be here.
I'm excited that you'll be at our ContentTECH Summit, and I'm excited to talk about today. And I know it's going to be, your speech is going to be interesting based on a little bit of a Hollywood type action scene, I guess. But, we'll get to that hopefully. So today, everyone's talking about creating experiences, right? And we know you're a big advocate of creating content experiences. Why is it so critical to get these experiences right these days?
I'd say, I mean, important, first of all, for everyone to understand that having a content experience only happens once you have great content. And so much kudos to everyone at Content Marketing Institute who helps educate people on how to create great content. But, having great content is just the beginning. I was just at the Forrester conference about a week ago, and maybe it's 2 weeks ago now. And the opening keynote, this is so cool. The opening keynote was about content experience, which is a real evolution from what we may have been talking about in marketing 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were talking about how do we create great content. Now we have to think about how we create a great experience with that. And, a funny story that's not part of my upcoming keynote at ContentTECH event, but, I want everyone to play a game with me now. For some people, it may be lunch. For some people, it may be the end of the day. So as long as you're in one of those, you can play along with this at home, which is if you're drinking a beer, right? And we can sub in any beer, Heineken, Corona, whatever you may like. If we're drinking that in our home office or at our work office or in our basement working on a weekend project, that beer tastes good. But if you close your eyes for a moment, you can do this with me if you want. Close your eyes and imagine that you're drinking that same beer, but on a beach. right? When you're on a beach, you can keep your eyes closed to kind of, bring this to your senses. And you've got, the waves, and you've got the warmth and the sweat going down the bottle and the beautiful people around you. There's something about that beer that just tastes better, right? And as a result, we probably end up drinking more beer, have a better time. That beer is the exact same beer, same recipe on the beach as in your home office. But there's something about the experience. There's something about the surroundings, the structure that take that to a whole new level. And those are the little things when we're putting content out. I mean, Amanda, even yourself, you had this warm, bubbly, audio soundtrack that was warming me up to this talk. I want to play that every morning when I wake up. Those little elements are so important to how we structure our content.
I love that analogy. Now I'm really thirsty. I want to go to the beach.
Well, I know where your time zone is. It's afternoon, so we're okay. You never do that analogy at like 9 a.m. or
Right.
I'm
And we had a beautiful weekend, so I'm really thinking about the beach and the beer. So, all right. So if someone doesn't have a good or pleasant experience, so we're drinking a beer like in the middle of a hurricane with our brand, there's still an opportunity to turn things around. But where should we start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's taking a look really at what is it that your buyer wants. And that's a big shift for a lot of marketers, a lot of people focused on content. Very often we look at things like an editorial calendar and we say, well, what do we need to fill this week or fill this month or quarter or however you may be planning? But I think it's taking a step back and thinking about it from the perspective of what is it that your buyer actually needs in this moment. And, to do that, we need to think less about an editorial calendar, more about a buyer journey or the matrix, as I call it, that someone will go through. The simplest way to think about it is create a spreadsheet, let your rows be your different audiences, buyers, verticals, accounts, if you're doing ABM, and your columns rather can be the different stages of the buyer journey. So think about the intersect of, say, consideration and buyer persona B. That is a need for certain content. If we start creating content that matches those needs, all of a sudden we're able to meet people in a way that's much more natural, that meets them in the way that they're looking to be embraced. And that actually bridges a little bit to the talk I'm going to do. I mean, you hit this up a bit, Amanda. Bit of a spoiler here. I survived, a boat explosion in the middle of an ocean in Costa Rica. You're gonna have to come to my talk and come to San Diego in a couple of weeks to see some of these slides in person. But the way I was embraced by those people around me, and it wasn't necessarily content marketing, but it was engagement. It was an experience that turned what could have been the worst days of my life into something that is a positive memory. And I think that is the same element with our content. We need to find ways to embrace people through their buyer journey so that we make it as enjoyable as possible.
If you're just joining us, I'm here with Randy Frisch with UberFlip, and we're talking about content experiences, and particularly if you have someone has a bad experience, how to sort of save it or save yourself from a sinking ship. You definitely should go to this topic, to his session. And so you're talking about the intersection there. You talk about 3 lifesavers that are at the heart of every experience. Can you talk a little bit more of that, and why are they so important?
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll dig into this live in person in San Diego, but for a little bit of a tease here. When I survived this boat explosion, it was traumatic. And like anyone who goes through something like that, I had a way to cope, which was to write about it. And I wrote a blog post at the time that turned out being the keynote that I'm going to do this coming week. And it was all about some of the reflection of how I was greeted by those around me. And, there was a few things that really came into play. I ended up calling these lifesavers, not just for this keynote. I ended up talking about that way with my 3 kids. I mean, my 3 kids and my wife were on this boat with me. At the time, the youngest was 7, the oldest was 11. I mean, this was a lot to take in. And the 3 things that really carried us through, one was, I called it the brand promise in the end. It was this mindset of everyone around us in Costa Rica. And throw into the chat if you've been to Costa Rica before. I'm curious who's been there. And especially if you can tell me what Pura Vida means. If you know what Pura Vida means, it is a saying in Costa Rica, and it carried us through. It was such a natural way for us to be embraced by everyone without them feeling like it was forced, but really taking care of us. So that's one, this brand promise that I hit on. The second was the trust. You'll see this in my talk, the way we were embraced by the skipper of our boat and the trust that we built in those people in that moment by the ways they supported us that were way beyond their job. It was amazing. It was motivating, and it brought us together. And the last, I think that's probably closest to the content side of this, if you will, was the way in which we were engaged, not just by the skipper, but ultimately by everyone, the hotel, and how they brought us back and, took care of us after this traumatic experience, by the fact that, everything sunk in this boat, including our car keys. So how did the car rental company engage with us? And what was the different ways that they embraced us as a customer to keep us engaged and keep us, floating, if you will, through some rough waters?
That's great.
Stephanie's been to Costa Rica. It is an amazing story, and it's an amazing place. But in the talk, I end up tying it to other brand experiences. Not just a family vacation. So we talk about a leading airline and how they've done a really good job at thinking about customer experience as a whole. Talk about as well Spotify, some of the things that we can learn from Spotify. And lastly, a much more B2B example, a company called Medtronic, and some of the things that they've done in such a motivating way, especially through the pandemic, to be there for their customers.
Lisa says, how awful. I know, but it's a survival story, so it all ended up well.
But that's the wild thing. It sounds awful, but my kids look back on this story as this heroic escape and this very positive experience, despite some very awful moments. But I think that's what we need to be focused on as marketers, as business owners, is how do we turn the worst moments into moments that people remember us for in positive ways? And the role of content, the role of engagement, the role of how we respond in those moments is such an opportunity for every business, whether you're in a consumer business like the world I was in, or a more considered purchase B2B. We just have to be there for our customers in those moments of pain.
I love that so much. I think that's a great tease, a great place to stop. And I think that if you should get a ticket to ContentTECH, and 2, sign up immediately for Randy's session. Randy, are you looking forward to ContentTECH?
I can't wait. I mean, San Diego, the summer. I mean, this is all lining up. This is going to be fantastic.
And no boats.
No boats. The funny thing is, the year after I actually bought a boat. So you talk about getting over your fear.
You've been back on a boat, but you bought a boat?
I bought a boat, and I love being out on the water. As far as I'm concerned, this is 1 in a billion going to happen to. It's happened to me. I should be safe now.
Well, that's brave. I love the water too. So I commend you for that. So if you want to register for ContentTECH, head over to content.tech, join us in person, join us virtually. We'd love to have you. And if you sign up, please use the code SAVE200, and you can save a little bit on your registration. You can see Randy there. And as always, you can learn more about us at contentmarketinginstitute.com. All kinds of resources there. Randy, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, come to the event. You'll see me there. But if you're not going to be there, check me out. LinkedIn is a channel that I'm pretty active on. You can also grab my book. I don't know if I should be saying the book title on this live feed, but there's an F-bomb with reference to content marketing. You can search for that on Amazon and grab the book. It's a bestseller on Amazon. I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Yeah, I left the title out because I was nervous about making sure I didn't slip, but it's definitely
you know
an
what?
R-rated title.
I love Robert Rose, for those who don't know. And Robert, he described it once as Randy being Randy. So that's good. That's the best endorsement I could ever ask for.
I love that. All right, Randy, and all of you, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day, rest of your day. Have that beer, maybe on a beach, like he said, and have a great week. See you.